We're going to treat 40-year-olds as though they are 20 and 60-year-olds as though they are 30. Is everybody just going to turn into Madonna, twerking her way to glory with 2 artificial hips at the age of 92? It is kind of amazing to watch elderly people who are now desperately attempting to maintain attention. Jennifer Lopez is 55 years old. Now, granted, she's an amazing-looking 55-year-old person, but the desperate need for attention by our celebrity class, like Jennifer Lopez, is worth a lot of money, like a lot of money. She is supposedly worth at least $400 million. You don't have to do this, Jennifer, just to be provocative. So she is now making out with her backup dancers. Now, I thought that this is a routine that's been around for a long time. Like, I'm old enough to remember when Madonna did this, like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So I'm not sure what the controversy here is. Everything is just old and played out, including J-Lo. So here she was at one of her shows, desperate for attention. Okay, so there she is making out with her backup dancers. And again, and multiple backup dancers. She's like kissing and making out with. So this is old and tired. Listen, Grandmama. She's 55 years old. I mean, come on. What are you doing at this point? I have to say it is trashy and gross and stupid, obviously. But there is this thing that's happening in our culture where a bunch of people are masquerading as 17-year-olds who are actually middle-aged. It kind of is amazing. It really is kind of an amazing thing. Like, if you are of middle age, you should act like you are of middle age. I don't mean you have to be a fuddy-duddy. I do mean that you should act like an adult. Like, you're not a 17-year-old or a 21-year-old trying desperately to gain attention. You see this with Katy Perry also, right? Katy Perry is also making a fool of herself doing her international tours right now, being silly. And you see it in the lyrics of a Taylor Swift also, who pretends to be a lovelorn 16-year-old girl when, in fact, Taylor Swift is currently age 35. But you see it all over the place. I mean, truly. You see it in the manosphere, too. You see a bunch of people who are sort of in the podcast space who are cosplaying at being 17-year-old Beavis and Butthead types. Right? I enjoy Theo Von as much as the next guy, although I think that his political takes are insanely stupid much of the time, because I just don't think that he focuses on that sort of stuff. And if you don't focus on it, he's not claiming to be an expert. That's fine. But if you're not claiming to be an expert, I'm not going to take your opinions on these matters particularly seriously. I mean, Theo Von's a comedian. That's fine. It's also worth noting Theo Von is 45 years old. Theo Von is 4 years older than I am. Theo Von is like, in the olden days, Theo Von would be closing in on the gold watch and retirement. And he dresses like a skater who's 16 years old, wears his hat backwards, and acts as though he's a refugee from the Stoners Club in junior high. It's a little weird. Again, he's very funny. I'm just wondering, and this is kind of the entire branding now. It's there's a whole generation of people who are 40 and up who are acting as though they are 20 and under. And at some point, it's got to become a bit of, how do you do, fellow kids? Now, to be fair, I've been 80 since I was like 15. Right? I am a fuddy-duddy. I am a grumpy old man. I've always been a grumpy old man. I was a grumpy old man when I was a teenager. That said, there is something strange about a country that is rapidly aging, in which, because we are rapidly aging and we don't have enough kids, we have decided that adults are going to be the new kids. We're going to treat 40-year-olds as though they are 20 and 60-year-olds as though they are 30. It's a strange look. It's very, very weird. At a certain point, shouldn't you just become a responsible adult, able to make responsible decisions? Or are we just going to do this forever? Is everybody just going to turn into Madonna, twerking her way to glory with 2 artificial hips at the age of 92? That's just the question, I suppose. We'll get to more on that in a moment. First, I need to make sure that I'm maintaining my health, hitting the gym, spending time with the family, even with the busy work schedule. When I was younger, I used to think I could just power through on willpower and caffeine. I learned pretty quickly peak performance requires peak nutrition, and that means actually eating vegetables. But I don't like vegetables, so I'm very thankful to have Balance of Nature, which fits right into even the busiest of days. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and veggies every day, which sounds miserable, time-consuming. With Balance of Nature fruits and veggies, there's never been a more convenient dietary supplement to ensure you get a wide variety of fruits and veggies daily. Balance of Nature takes fruits and veggies, they freeze-dry them, they turn them into a powder, and then they put them into a capsule. You take your fruit and veggie capsules every day, and then your body knows precisely what to do with them. It's kosher, so I can pop it right into the protein smoothie, and I'm good to go. Head on over to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Shapiro for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Plus, get that free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Shapiro. Go check them out right now. Balanceofnature.com. Makeout.com, promo code Shapiro for 35% off your very first order as a preferred customer and get a free bottle of fiber and spice. The latest in the Diddy trial. It's Diddy update. So, again, the big question in the Sean Puffy Combs Diddy McFace trial is whether he engaged in trafficking or whether he's just a generalized piece of crap. Right? That's the real question here. The defense admits that he's a generalized piece of crap. The question is whether he is also a trafficker violating federal law. According to the Washington Post, the third week of testimony in the Diddy trafficking and racketeering case brings more prosecution witnesses to the stand, including Combs' former assistant, Capricorn Clark. Capricorn Clark. Okay, it's a name. That's better than Taurus Clark or something. In testimony last week, Scott Kid Cudi Miscudi alleged that Clark called him to say that her boss had broken into Miscudi's home. Other former assistants have testified saying they procured drugs and other supplies for Combs and witnessed his physical abuse of his former longtime girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Ventura alleges she was coerced by Combs and his associates into participating in the alleged freak-offs. Again, he is pleading not guilty, and they are suggesting that these two had a volatile relationship and that he was, in fact, abusive, but that's not the same thing as trafficking. Capricorn Clark described her tumultuous life working on and off for Diddy, a job she still misses intensely. Apparently, after his homes were raided by federal agents, she tried to get a job with him anyway. Clark told the jury her job was to keep Combs and his operation professional, but she then described a profoundly unethical web of operations at Bad Boy Records and other Combs companies. Clark testified she saw Combs viciously kick Ventura in 2011 as a punishment for her secret side relationship with Kid Cudi. Also, apparently, the last question to Capricorn Clark from the defense attorney was about a comment she made in an April 2024 meeting at which the lawyer was present. Clark recounted a conversation she had with Cassie Ventura years ago in which Clark allegedly told Ventura she should end her romantic relationship with Combs. Ventura's response, Clark paraphrased to Combs' lawyers, Jay-Z was taken, who would she date? And apparently Clark said that was true. So yes, these are all wonderful people who surround themselves with other wonderful people. So, believe it or not, both Usher and Barack Obama's names have been dropped in the Diddy trial at this point. Apparently, his one-time personal assistant, David James, also says that Diddy took drugs every day, including sometimes downing Obama-shaped ecstasy pills. They make Obama-shaped ecstasy pills? Why? I don't understand. That's weird. Anyway. Apparently, Combs receives his drug haul from a dealer named One Stop, which, okay, good branding there. He's the one-stop shop. All right, fair enough. Again, this is the big question in all of this, is whether Combs was just engaging in routine rapper horrifying behavior, or kind of worse than normal for a rapper, which is saying an awful lot, or whether he was actually engaged in trafficking. Again, the indictment revolves around two females that Combs is alleged to have engaged in commercial acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. And then there was a superseding indictment that added a second count of trafficking against another victim. Combs is saying these both were my girlfriends. So I guess one of the females is Cassie Ventura. I will say I do not have tremendous sympathy for the idea that she was a trafficking victim. She does appear to have been there voluntarily. And yes, the fact that he was abusing the living hell out of her speaks to him being evil, but it doesn't mean that he was engaged in trafficking if she is, in fact, the person at issue in the trafficking charge. We'll have Megyn Kelly on to discuss all this because, frankly, Megyn watches this stuff a lot more closely than I do and has a greater level of expertise. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.